And we're back. Welcome. This is the Monday edition of the Tao of the Day. I am always excited to chat and share the Tao. If you have a number that is coming to you between 1 and 81, come on, let's talk about the Tao. The Tao Te Ching, the canon of reason. This is the magic for your morning. We are going to enjoy some Tao today. So if you're on and you'd be interested in checking out the Tao with me, come on and we'll have a chat. I think it's going to be every weekday at some point. I am going to be doing the Tao of the day, and you can join me, and I want you to join me, and I want to share the Tao. I got 20 years clean and sober. A large part of the reason that I have that is because I went through the Tao Te Ching, and every morning I would wake up and I'd pick a number, and I want to bring that joy to you. I want you to enjoy the magic that is here in the Tao. The Tao translates as the canon of reason, and you need, and I need, and we all can use a little reason in our lives. Allison is coming on, and we are going to share with you the Tao. How's it going, Allison?
Good morning.
Good morning, and happy Monday.
Happy 46 degrees.
46. Yes, you and I are in. I was out this morning for I wouldn't call it a run. So I'm not a runner, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. I'm a walker, but I really love like running fast for short distances. It really puts me in my body. You know, like I'll walk and then I'll like get up on my toes and I'll run like really fast, um, for like like I don't know, like a block or something, and I'll just kind of push and push like in like do that like on my toes sprint running, and it's so fun, and I did that at 4 o'clock this morning in shorts and a t-shirt, and I was like, it's cold.
It's very cold today.
Yeah. And at 4, it was breezy. My knuckles were hurting a little bit, but that was I
Like,
still had a great time. I breathed, and it was okay. So do you have
good.
a number?
Sure. How
And how
about
was your weekend?
it was good. It was good. Just weekend stuff. Weekend stuff in
Good, good.
Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. What do I want today? I want 21.
21. Okay, here we go. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. That's beautiful. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. So this one, that last line, I look inside myself and see, is one of the things that like really helped me in my life. That idea that like I need to trust myself.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I can apply it to what I was going to talk about today because
I'm telling you, there is magic here.
it is. They're like tarot cards, really, or tarot, whatever you pronounce it. But
Yeah, however you
um,
want to pronounce it.
so we're going to go through it line by line, but just quickly, I get direct messages on Instagram frequently from people who claim that they can see my energy. And oh, by the way, there's bad energy attached to you. And by the way, oh, I can clear it up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I had something last
Wow.
night. So I was going to do a call called Hexes, Spells, and Karma, debunking it.
Yeah.
But if we go through line by line, it really
Which, yeah, we'll
means
do.
you are the creator of your reality. No one else can insert anything into it. And the last line is look
Right.
within, kind of like look within yourself because you are
Yeah.
it. No one else can do anything to you that you don't believe they can.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And like yeah, we're gonna go through this line by line. Let's I'm
Okay.
on board, and I love that. And actually, like these are like I'm trying to figure out how I want to read this. I'm gonna read the first like three lines because that's just a group.
Okay.
The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what keeps her radiance. Right, like that's pretty simple. She keeps with the Tao. If we understand the Tao as that which is beyond the manifestation, right? Everything that is, like the
Consciousness
core
itself.
of everything. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's all
consciousness
it.
itself. Yeah.
Right. And then the next group is the Tao is ungraspable. That is that's the thing that is like that's the monkey wrench that gets thrown into this, and that's what's great about the structure of this is where it's like here she gets her radiance from staying one with something that's ungraspable.
Well, it's the infinite nature of the universe. It's all that is.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
makes total sense to me because when you're aligned with all that is, you are in and of yourself complete, but always expanding. So it's sort of like a catch 22.
Exactly. This brings us into the next two lines, which is how can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas.
Which is the idea of self as separation,
Mm-hmm.
as different, other, which
Mm-hmm.
is part of this frequency in reality is we think we are separate, but we are actually all connected and all of
Right.
the same stream of well-being. We are not the same beings, but we are of the stream of well-being, like drops of
Right.
water in a river.
And through that we achieve radiance.
Right,
Right.
because we are the one. The one is the one.
Right. Absolutely. Beautiful. Like because she doesn't cling to ideas. And ideas get so much power from the manifestation, right? Just like people telling, like I have people every now and again, like I don't get DMs on Instagram, but every now and again I'll be having a conversation with a needy healer, let's call them, and they go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, I just got a hit that you should do this, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, you're about to get a hit. Like, I was like I'm sick of healers telling me they got a hit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got a
Well,
hit, and like,
that's that's the whole conundrum, right? Is people think that they can insert themselves into another person's reality, and you can't.
right,
You can harmonize with your perception of that person's energy, but it is your perception. And that's why I was going to talk about these hexes, spells, and karma, because people think that, you know, they can insert something into another person's reality. I'm like, you guys know it's not the way it works. There's no law of insertion. It doesn't
right,
exist.
absolutely, absolutely. I was talking with someone one time, and she was telling me about, like someone she talked to, and he was telling me about these evil, there's evil in the world, like in the universe and all of this, and you got to be careful and you got to protect yourself when you're doing these things and stuff. And I'm like, well, if it's coming to you, it's coming to you one way or like it's not like that it's not about that. Like if you can't protect yourself from that which which you need to experience.
Well,
There's no way to do that.
well, that's the thing. It's like you are creating the experience of the thing that you're experiencing. And so no one else
Right,
is
right.
doing it. It's like, it's ironic because you're like,
Like
oh my gosh, I need to protect myself from this thing. But guess what? I'm creating this thing that I need to protect myself
right.
from.
Like you're
What?
creating it. because you're defining it. And it's like, when people run around and say, I want to surround myself with peace. And I'm like, you know how much war you're bringing about because of that? Like,
Yes.
stop
Yes.
trying to define something, like, and just kind of sit there in it. Like, sit there as you are right now. The
Yes.
Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. And this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, the dark and the light are the same thing.
That's right.
They're the same thing
Mm-hmm.
because it's the oneness. It's the appearance of separation that happens when you project your consciousness into this physical frequency. You have the appearance of separation, and that's why people talk about the, humanity being sort of like the master class in the concept of separation, that when you plunge yourself or your consciousness into this reality, it appears as if you've been surrounded by the darkness, but the light is still there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
literally right there.
Like the dark cannot exist without the light. Like it is, and it is present at every moment. And it's interesting that you mentioned that idea of humans being like, this, you know, pinnacle of consciousness or whatever. I was talking to a preacher the other day. I don't do that very often. But
Mm.
I happened to be, introduced to somebody. He seemed nice enough and stuff, and we talked, and he took the role of, like being like, well, caterpillars and squirrels don't have the same consciousness that we do. And my first response was like, well, I wouldn't venture to say that. Like, I've never been one of those things. like, I can't, I'm
I
not
cannot
going
speak from
to,
the I perspective.
right. I can't speak on that. And I think I might have been nicer to him if he didn't use squirrels, because squirrels are my spirit animals. So like, I'm like, no,
Well,
squirrels got you beat by a long shot.
well, I
They're
think
planting trees, you're planting lies.
I think humans like to take a very hierarchical, perspective on
Don't
I
they?
am better than because I am
Right.
better than. And it's like, I think that's part of the hiccup is nothing is better than, it's just different than.
That's
So
right.
it's a different expression of the overall consciousness, which isn't in and of itself equal. But just
That's
because it's
right.
different doesn't mean it's better or worse. It just means it's a different idea of itself. It's consciousness expressing itself through the concept of squirrel or horse or
Right.
fly
Yeah. Or rock.
or rock,
Like
whatever.
every time I like kick a rock or something, I think about the fact that that rock at some point wanted to move. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is how it can achieve that desire. Like that thought,
Yeah.
like that thought crosses my mind when I start kicking things down, and like when I pick up a black walnut that's on the ground in the forest preserve and I whip it through the forest. I'm like, man, that guy wanted to go somewhere, because why did I
Mm-hmm.
do it to that one? Like, and it's such a beautiful sort of experience to think that everything you interact with, like, one, deserves respect because it has consciousness, and that how you're interacting with it is not your consciousness alone. Like it
No, it's a co-creative
is
aspect of.
right. It's a co-creative project of, yeah, and I mean, yes, there is only one consciousness, so we're all connected to it. So yes, it's yours, but it's not yours. It's not like owned by you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man. Okay, one more stands apart, and then we'll wrap this up. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. I'm wondering if that should be the Tao has been, or no. I like that. The Tao is, because it is now and it is always.
Well, before is a linear concept in and of itself, which is the only
Right.
way that humans can even begin to wrap their mind around the concept of what time space is as a projection, as an experience.
Right.
But again, it's like it just is.
And that's why the Tao is, because before limits time and space, as if, because the Tao isn't limited by that. Man, that's so good. Like that, just that line. And the first thing I want to do is correct it instead of understand it. Thank you, Allison, putting me in my
Yeah,
place.
I mean, we have to, through our lens, understand, try to put into perspective what it is we're experiencing. And because we wear a lens of time space. That is how our consciousness understands itself. And so when we're trying to even understand through this lens, we have to use words of time before, after this. That's why we use like past lives. We're trying to understand the concept of a co-creative experience of what we're actually experiencing here. And it's just part of the package.
Man, it is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. And that's
Yep.
it, right? You were just saying it. Like when we try to use words, we're looking externally. We're looking at the manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look inside of ourselves, we don't need past. We don't need the future. We just need to be.
Well, they're constructs. They don't actually exist.
Right.
Are we living in the past? No, we're living in this moment. So you can't ever get to the. You can project an idea of your perception of the past or the future, but
Right.
you're never anywhere but the present. Good luck with that one.
That's right. Yeah. But it is beyond is and is not. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It isn't that. And that's one of the things that really, oh, and that was the end of Allison's time. If anybody else wants to jump on, come on. I'm going to finish talking about this because that's what I do. Oh, Andy's going to visit us. Oh, I love Andy. Love chatting with Andy. Oh, man. What's up,
Good
buddy?
evening.
Hey.
Didn't we just have a conversation about
Yes,
this?
we
Like we
did.
just had a conversation about like less than 12 hours ago.
Yes, and for everybody out there, Andy and I are going to partner up, and we're going to talk about the fact that there is no space and no time.
So we're dimensional beings. We're not linear beings. And I always think about, and I just thought it was so cool that you and Allison were talking about it because I was like,
It's
we
magic.
just had this conversation.
Yep.
And it really is, though. It's all about that we can't conceptualize. So we have to put it in terms of before and yet. What if it's just one big spherical existence like that? I'm not really too familiar with the concept of the yugas. Maybe you are, but I have a friend who's studied it a lot. Like we've done this billions of times.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, so I like to call when you see examples of the fact that time is not linear. I'll give an example. I like to call them Easter eggs, and they pop up in your life every now and again, where something will happen to you, and you'll say, that doesn't really make much sense. Because like Dr. Joe Dispenza was talking about in his book, I think it was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, about how they did that double blind study of people with sepsis infections. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
And they had people pray for a list of people. They were praying for people that had already died. And when they did this double blind study, they saw that the people that were prayed for fared better than with their sepsis infections than people that didn't. And it kind of was like, we don't have enough time to go deep into it, but we don't have enough time to go deep into it, but it just proves that we're very much dimensional and not linear. We're dimensional. Like we think that like A plus B equals C, but it doesn't. It's all happening simultaneously.
In the 50s, I think there was a guy who took over a insane asylum, and he didn't visit any of the people that were interred there, or I guess interred might be the wrong word, but who were living there. He took all of their notes and all their pictures and all that kind of stuff, and he sat down with each of their dossiers, let's say, and he just focused on them. And within like 6 months, that space, like everybody was doing so really well. Like this is documented. I can't remember the doctor's name or where it was. My guess it's on the East Coast because that's where they all were. But
Was it okay? Yeah, that's like this could be for. But go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and it just reminds me of this idea that like the time and space and this manifestation that we are living in it isn't what we think it is, right?
Right.
It's not how we perceive it. And I mean, he wrote a book about this, and it's come to me third hand and stuff. So I may not be speaking of it correctly, but I know his whole thing was like, yes, I can meet with them, but because they have been met with so much harm, that's not going to be helpful.
Right.
And he did this a couple times, and then like there's a oh shit, there's a documentary on the 10-day retreat. Have you
I
heard about
don't.
these?
I
All
had
right, so there's
nope.
it's kind of like a meditation retreat. It's a silent retreat. You go out for 10 days. You don't say anything. You don't look people in the eye, and like you live in these premises. And I forget what it's called. But we got one of these places in Illinois. And you can go up there and you can take a 10-day retreat. Vipassana. So Vipassana is this state of just being quiet for 10 days.
Okay.
And in that time, they instituted Vipassana at the worst prisons in India. And you could elect to go to Vipassana. So it's either be in prison or go to Vipassana. And everybody that went to Vipassana said it's easier in prison. It's better in Vipassana.
Oh, fascinating.
Right. And
Yeah.
there's a documentary on that. And like the people that are coming out of Vipassana are like hugging the warden and crying. And like they had to face themselves.
Yeah.
And they had to face themselves over this linear period, like 10 days, like it's counted out, but it's like sending the body, sending the manifestation back to a point of oneness. And it's there's so much beauty. And like I said, like there's a documentary on it. I think it's called if you just look up Vipassana, if you Google Vipassana documentary, I think you can watch it free on YouTube, and it's like 45 minutes or something like that.
I can look for it. I will.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, we got like we went in a direction.
We sure did. That's not unlike us.
No, definitely not. I kind of wish that we could have three people, so then we could have Allison, and then we could just talk about this,
Yeah.
about
Well,
time,
I
and
think
space, and
I
oneness.
think you and Allison should definitely connect. I think you guys have a lot
We
of.
have on Instagram.
Oh, good.
I think. I mean,
Look at that.
we definitely have. Not I think. We definitely have, but we haven't spoken yet, so we should speak.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
Allison, if
definitely.
you're still listening, we should speak at some point. If I see you doing a talk, I'll try to jump onto it. But
so, do you have a number for me?
oh, you know what? This is the thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I can
not.
make.
You're gonna run
I'm
away.
gonna make. No, I'm not gonna run away. I just didn't plan one out ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
I actually usually don't. I usually just make one up. So yeah. So let's go 23.
23.
23. I don't know the Tao well enough to plan it ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Well, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to the Tao and trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. I want to cry.
Do you want to?
Yeah. Express yourself completely and then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. Thoughts?
I don't know. I don't have. I
All
do
right,
I.
I'm gonna go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can respond to that if
Okay.
you feel like there's something there. We often get into a place, I think, of repeating ourselves and wanting to make sure that we were expressed, or that when we expressed ourselves, we were understood in a very specific way, in the way that we wanted to be understood. And this relates to, and I don't know if I've talked to you about this. I believe I have. This is the difference between learning and being taught. And a lot of people want
Yeah.
to run around and say, I was taught this as a child. And I said, well, you were probably also taught things that you didn't learn. So you can't utilize the fact that you were taught something as the cornerstone. You have to, say, like, I learned this. But when you can be open, like later on it says, open yourself to the Tao. But I think that really, that has to be the first thing. Because if you're not open to the Tao, you can't express yourself completely.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's true.
you will not want to keep quiet, right? This is like when you can love yourself and trust that you're present here right now, then you can express yourself completely. And it
Well,
doesn't.
I have to say something about that because
Please.
I want to jump in on that, and I think I can take that to a tangible example of people not wanting to. Excuse me, hang on, I have to. I don't know what the hell's going on this morning with my voice, but people not wanting to express themselves completely because they're afraid they're going to offend somebody else. So we're like, okay, well, I can say this much, but I have to leave out this 20%. Like I went through that example this morning where like I recorded something for my podcast and then I told my mother about it and she's like, well, this person wouldn't be happy if you put this out. And I'm thinking, okay, so now I have to go change it. All right, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to just suck another hour of my life to go change it. And in reality, I'm thinking like, but if I just left it, I could probably, you know, help 100,000 people. Like maybe not. But how many times? That's a wild example. I am going to change it. But that's a wild example of like, how many times do we censor ourselves because we don't want to upset others when in reality our voice and our powerful experience is what we're supposed to be delivering. Like I can use a good example. I worked at this abusive fucking horrible restaurant where they like were terrible to people, but they put us under like their thumb and said, if you ever speak about this, we will fire you immediately. And if you Google these people, you can't find anything on the internet about it. And what happened was nobody said anything ever, and it was horrible. And now that the pandemic has happened, all of these people are using their voices and speaking their truth about how horrible this industry is. And we're finally seeing it. But before, we were so worried to upset somebody that we wouldn't use our voice at all. And in reality, it was very important that we did use our voices so that way we could participate. Like, so we could provide something for someone else because that would have been, but we went against what we felt that we should be doing. We do this all the time. We feel like we can't speak truth because it's going to upset someone else, but that truth is yours. You're supposed to speak it. Like you're supposed to.
Right.
That's in alignment with your purpose. You're supposed to, and people don't all the time. Oh, I can't write this. I can't write that.
Express yourself completely, then keep quiet.
And then that's it. Yeah, just say what you got to say, and then that's it. Say
That's
what
right.
I mean, and what can and I can't really. I think that that's also a part of it. It's like that we want to when we want to express ourselves completely. We're always so worried about other humans, and it's like, yeah, it's like,
But the thing
okay,
is you're not. You're
yeah.
worried about yourself.
Yeah, that's really what it is. You're worried about, okay, well, what does this mean for me? Well, how am I going to
Right.
be? Well, are these people
And
going to
it's
be upset with me? And if you can just get over the fact that anyone really, it doesn't really matter.
they
It doesn't
have
really,
a right to be upset with you.
yeah. I did this
Eh,
recently where I wrote this whole account of shit with my ex-boyfriend. Just an awful shit that he did. And it was all about forgiveness of yourself, this whole article that I wrote. And, of course, I knew when I wrote this that he was going to be upset if he saw it. And of course he saw it, and of course he was upset. But like, how long am I going to remain not free?
Yeah, the idea that you have to live your life pleasing or appeasing somebody else is really, that's fucked up. like to what extent, how far does that go? Where does
Yeah.
that lead you? And why is someone else's feelings more important than your life?
And no, I think that's what everybody does, though. So that's why, like,
But
when
that's a comparison, and that is not where you're living.
are you talking about me?
Well, anybody, like we are not living in I I mean, we can't. I don't know. It's a like I want to let people like understand that like you don't have like nobody is asking you to compare yourself. I know it seems that way,
Yeah.
but it's not happening. So yeah, it like then it says like be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there's only wind.
Yeah. And it
When it
doesn't
rains,
necessarily have to mean anything, you know?
what do you mean?
Like it doesn't, we don't need to attach a meaning to there being wind. There just is.
Right, right. Um, we're running out of time. Would you want to come back and finish
No,
this?
you know what? I have to go. I'm sorry. I wish I did,
No,
but I have to go. I'm so sorry.
no, 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 no. Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, definitely next time. Sorry, I wasn't more useful today to
No, this was
everybody.
great. I'm gonna.
Normally I'm more useful.
You were
I know, but I will
be like the
definitely,
Tao.
yeah, be like the Tao, and because we are the Tao.
That's right. That's right.
I will see
Open
you.
open yourself to the Tao. Trust in your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. Nobody's on, so I'm going to continue talking about this one. This one is this is a beautiful verse, and I love where it starts, where it's express yourself completely and then be quiet. Um, expressing yourself completely is something that I really take seriously, and like Andy was talking about, like the space that we can hold, the space of holding back, the space of changing what we do, the space of not being maybe honest, even maybe not even honest with ourselves. I know I wrote an email that'll go out tomorrow, um all about like, are you practicing being present and being honest? And I mean, I've been talking a lot about practice. Yesterday I did a talk with Paul about practice, and and it's a big deal, like what are we practicing, and how can we express ourselves completely, and how can we be quiet? you know I love saying something in a very succinct way. I love saying things that can just be understood, and when they can, then I can be quiet, and I don't have to keep talking. Here I am continuing to talk, but I'm going to go on through the next stanza. If you open yourself to the Tao and you are at one with the Tao, you can embody it completely. And that's something that I really strive to do. I strive to just be present in the moment. And of course, that doesn't always happen, but I practice. I practice regularly. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. Insights, like that's your gut. That's your inner knowing. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. When I got diagnosed with MS, I had to accept the fact that I may not walk again. And I still have to accept the fact that there may be a day that I will not be able to walk again. When I embraced that, when I embraced the idea that I'm going to lose my ability to walk, whether I do or not, doesn't matter. I'm just embracing the fact that that's possible. Before that moment, I didn't really think it was possible. You know, I ask people in my workshops, are you guys like happy with yourself? You guys happy with your lives? You think you can kind of handle like if something, you know, like shakes up your life? And then I always ask like, well, what if you were to lose a limb? Would you be able to continue? Do you have the strength to continue if you were to lose a limb? Because that's a big deal. Losing the ability to walk, losing a limb, losing parts of your body. That's a whole different thing, right? Like losing a relationship is one thing, you know, and that's hurtful and that's tough. But losing like your ability to walk, like that really opened my eyes and changed my life. But I embraced it. You know, I embraced loss. If you can open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss. And that's okay. It's not like you're going to lose something, but you can accept it when it happens. Open yourself to the Tao and trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. You know, trusting ourselves is such a big deal and something that many of us can't do. You know, I mean, Andy was on here and she was talking, and she said she was talking to her mom, and her mom said, nope, someone's not going to like that. You're going to want to change that. And, you know, like trusting your natural responses, and then that comes up, right? You trust yourself, and then all of a sudden you have to rethink something, and then you trust yourself from that point of view. The question is, well, are you living under the influence of that, or is that the way that you feel? Or, you know, like then you get marred up, right? And this whole thing started with express yourself completely, then keep quiet. If you do upset somebody, well, is it your truth that you're putting out there? Or is this a response? Because if it's your truth and you upset somebody, is that so bad? If the person that's upset can't accept that you had something to say, well, maybe they need some growth. Maybe they need to be upset so they can see themselves. It's not your job, but it's also not your job to edit yourself to keep other people happy. So to Andy, if she's still listening, I would, you know, like I'm waiting to listen to your podcast. I want to hear it. I listened to one of yours yesterday, actually. So, but yeah, if there's anybody else that would love to come on, I would love to have you. Otherwise, I'm gonna step away. This Tao, this Tao for the day is slipping away from me. And I want to thank you for listening. This is a Recover Yourself production. I'm your host, Martin John. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.